by Sam and Alberto.
Hey.
Hello.
All right, we're going to be going to round 2, featuring Robert on presumably Blue-Red Murktide, though it could be the new Teamer variant, and Dan on Burn.
Yeah, this actually is an X1 bracket game. Not sure what. I know that both of these are pretty accomplished players. I'd love to see what's going on. Looks like Robert's going to lead it off with a turn 1 Ragavan.
I'm certainly no stranger to the X1 bracket.
I mean, it's surprising because I really like Burn in this meta because decks that I feel are pretty, that you don't really care what your opponent's doing, are doing fairly well.
Really?
I think so.
I think Burn is... I think Burn is really... what's what I'm looking for? Like, divisive. Like, I think the matchups for Burn are either very solid or just abysmal. And even though, like, Burn has had a history of being able to, you know, like not being playable in metas like that, I think that it is a solid choice just because, you know, we have some 3, 4, and 5 color decks doing a lot of damage to themselves. But also, I think the most notable addition to Burn right now is going to be Roiling Vertex. That card came out in what? Zendikar, right?
Yeah.
Zendikar Resurgent?
Battle for No,
Zendikar
Resurgent, yeah.
The recent one.
Yeah, and
There's 3 Zendikars now?
Yes.
yeah. But I think that's probably the most notable card out of this this Burn deck, I think, in recent years, and that has all been because of the Evoke Elementals being so prevalent, and then we see Crashing Football decks, you know, casting a lot of things for 0 mana, a lot of adventure cards, just being everywhere.
Sorry to cut you off, but we have a Sam fan in chat.
Do we?
We have a Let's Go
Howdy.
Sam.
What up? Hey, Trey.
Ragavan is such an excellent card in the Burn matchup for Murktide here. Being able to snipe burn spells and use them as removal to prevent yourself from exhausting your own pool is excellent.
Yeah,
Dan's applying plenty of pressure of his own, though, with both the Goblin Guide and the Swift Spear.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Murktide player, we're seeing, like, Murktide really wants to start getting out ahead with some of the ways to dig through its deck. We have seen 2 Mishra's Baubles, but we haven't seen an expressive iteration yet, and we haven't seen a Dragon's Rage Channeler, Darcy. We might see this now.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Got the Skewer on the Goblin Guide.
Ooh, Skewer's fantastic here.
Yeah, no. Ragavan triggering.
Oh, because it was the Skewer was off the... Got it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Because he let it through and then hit. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So Skewer actually has... What is that mechanic?
Spectre.
Spectacle, yeah. So because... And Spectacle, of course, happens, allows Robert to cast the Skewer from Dan's deck to kill the Goblin Guide. All right, second, Monastery Swift Spear. If we can do a flurry of spells, this is a scary amount of damage out of Dan. Looks like we see some red cards in his hand.
Yeah, I think one of them was like Skullcrack or no, Searing Blaze.
Yeah, and Searing Blaze is pretty solid when your opponent has an X1 in play.
Shortcutting here a bit.
Yeah, Skewer, counterspell on the Skewer, or counterspell on the Searing Blaze.
Which Dan does know about from the Goblin Guide trigger on, I think, turn 1.
Yep. Now we also have in for 2, takes 4, from 11 down to 7, passes the turn. Now, if Robert can resolve a big blocker in, like, Murktide, occasionally these lists are still playing, like, Ledger Shredders, potentially able to draw an additional card. That should be able to help with Ledger Shredder as well, get another counter on it, and
See
X
the
Force.
first iteration here?
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be pretty hard for...
So finding Scalding Tarn and Unholy Heat. Unholy Heat.
We bottomed the Force, which...
Yeah, also reveals a Goblin Guide off of this Ragavan. Might be castable, actually. Alright, an Unholy Heat on one of the Monastery Swift Spears. Plays that Murktide. We might...
Murktide with the treasure.
Yeah, we might actually get here with this. So, 4 cards, 5 cards. It looks like 4 counters are going to go on Murktide. Second all of this. Cast the Goblin Guide. Lots of shortcutting going on. Pass the turn. Alright, now if... It looks like Dan Like, the tides have just changed quite a bit here. But if Dan can release... I mean, he has Boros Charm Bolt mana in hand.
Yeah, Dan's got a pretty good window
Or in
here
play.
with Robert having no treasures on the battlefield.
Mhm.
Is going to have to, if Spell Pierce or Spell Snare are in hand, is going to have to fetch with the Scalding Tarn going into 6.
I don't see a Boros Charm in his hand. I don't see a white card. There is a Rift Bolt.
Rift Bolt on suspend.
Unfortunately, the worst burn spell in Burn most of the time.
Dan's going to exercise some patience here.
Yep. Wait for him to put a spell on the stack. I mean, Dan has plenty of time. Yeah. Well, his opponent does have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ooh, well,
That's
I
not
see you
much
got a
time.
blocker. Not much. An expressive iteration out of Robert once again. This is the thing that we're looking at.
Two
Looks like it does reveal a MPR Lightning Bolt.
And a Preordain, and another Preordain going to the bottom.
Cast the Preordain. Second Lightning Bolt. Both on top. Ooh. One on top, one bottom. The Lightning Bolt's going to get drawn. We have 2 bolts in Robert's hand. If he can get in for any amount of damage, I believe he's going to be going for it here. Let's see. Do we get a big block?
However, if the Ragavan gets blocked and isn't able to generate a treasure, Robert's going to have to fetch and shock in order to cast those bolts.
Correct. And if we... Alright, so it does get blocked. Boros Charm? Skullcrack.
Skullcrack. That's going to
Alright.
get a prowess trigger on Swift Spear.
Trying to get
Make
rid
it,
of
make it survive.
Will
Yep.
not die. Yeah.
Yeah, so... Okay, a lot going on. So Monastery Swift Spear is a 2/3 right now. We have a fetch and a bolt.
Yeah, that's it.
Second
That's
bolt. So in response, double bolt. Yeah, okay. All right, so that means that that's going to put Robert down to 4. Dan will take 6 off of the 2 bolts and then die to the Murktide. You can see it written on Dan's face. He's a little disappointed in that one. That's kind of the thing that keeps people coming back to Murktide is their ability to just turn to the deck, find the cards that answer things, and then leverage them. And if you're a good enough player, which in my experience of playing with Robert, he's an excellent player. New to the game, only been playing I think for about 2 years now.
Really?
Yeah, he's a pretty accomplished player.
Very recent.
I would not have guessed that.
Absolutely. But that's why people keep coming back to Murktide. It kind of is reminiscent of like Death Shadow back in like the 2019 era. Yeah, rip.
Though, like Wizards is throwing them a bone with getting Preordained back in the format, which I've had a blast with. I think that card is so fun.
I've had nothing but fun with Preordain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I came back to Modern after the pandemic restrictions were starting to come off, I got Expressive Iteration in a deck. I have not been to an FNM with the exception of Jank Knight without
Yeah.
Expressive Iteration, and now that Preordain is unbanned, similar story. Have not come to FNM without Preordain. Card's a blast to play.
That's a classic. Absolutely.
Murktide's also got a brand new card from Wilds of Eldraine. Questing Druid, we were just talking about this.
Yeah.
Questing Druid
You wanna
being
pull up
yet
Questing Druid?
another way to churn through the deck and really like dial in that consistency. Murktide is the kind of deck where a smart Murktide player puts themselves in a situation, identifies what card they need, and then does what they have to do to find it. And Questing Druid is
There it is on the right.
essentially Expressive Iterations 5 through 8 for this deck.
And occasionally a 2 mana 1/1 that grows even larger when you get to cast the rest of your spells.
it's still a great threat.
What is the spectacle card that was also played? Light Up the Stage.
Light Up the
Reminds me
Stage,
of
yeah.
Light Up the Stage, actually.
Definitely.
Yes.
Light Up the Stage with a body. We're playing... deck is playing a lot of green cards, or I'm sorry, some green mana to actually facilitate casting the creature side, but in reality, it doesn't really need it.
Yeah, I think most lists are playing like one breeding pool because you also have access to green off of Ragavan.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice start here. DRC into Bobble, a classic.
2 baubles.
2 Bobbles.
Oh, no, Bobble,
Yeah.
surveil the other bauble. Correct. So this has been... All right, there's a Force of Negation.
Wow.
Unfortunate. Gets 2 for 1. Might be able to stop them. Looks like Robert only has... Looks like 4 cards in hand now.
Yeah, like, it looks like a land, a Mistress Bobble.
There's a
Another
Bobble.
bubble.
Graveyard. That's going to be a Spell Snare. Here's that Misty. Crack this. Check the top of your library. The old fetch bauble trick.
It does look like he's a little light on interaction. All I saw in that hand was...
yeah, now if he can resolve a Murktide here,
That's true.
which could be pretty scary. That is 1, 2,
Yeah, that's
3.
a 6/6 Murktide on turn
That's
2.
DRC putting in a lot of work to get the graveyard filled up for that.
Absolutely. Perfect land. It's still 1.
Yes. That Preordain is in exile.
There it is.
comes that Murktide.
Yeah, there we see the Murktide.
All right.
I mean, this is pretty much how you win as Murktide. Like getting
Yeah.
down that pressure is
Absolutely.
pretty
Turn
crucial.
2 Delve creature was good in the Death Shadow deck. Good in this deck. That
Ooh, that's a path to exile.
Is that a path?
That is a path to
Yep.
exile.
I don't recognize that art.
Get rid of that, cut over an
2
island.
mana Roiling Vortex.
Spike and Skewer.
Down to 11. All right. How many cards are we looking at on Dan's side?
I think it's about 1 or 2.
All right. Well.
Put Murktide in the exile.
Yep. It's gonna be hard to cast the next one. And with Darcy still just being a 1/1, Dan does have time. Expressive may get us out of it. Scry us into the graveyard. Sorcerer to the graveyard. That is a 3/3. Put a card on top. Put a land into play. Put that here. There you go.
I really
Did he
should
have
have. I was about to
Did
say.
he have he did not have a 4th land drop.
4th land drop?
No, they did. It's
The next
one
the
off
basic
path.
from
The next
path.
turn.
Yeah.
Correct. Right.
I mean, I'm surprised they don't just change the text at this point during special iteration 2. But this is Explore sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Dan's gonna have to do a little bit of work to get rid of that 11 life.
That is a lightning
the
bolt
DRC.
on Darcy.
He's
All right. Somebody read Who's the Beatdown. That's a joke for the old heads.
It's gonna be
Is
the-
Dan out of cards?
He is out of cards.
Yep. All right. We're playing control as Burn. And playing control with no cards in hand is difficult.
You know, Burn is known as life total control
It is.
in some circles.
Player removal, I think, is what they call it.
Ooh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That
Really
is
worth it.
tough.
All right, so I don't think that's going to be super relevant, but the Ragavan
He's
is
casting the
cast it, yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, Force is gone. I think Robert has at most 1 Force in the deck and 1 Bauble. We've seen 3 already.
Although
Looks like what Robert's hoping for here is that Dan
Riftbolt,
is really
hardcast.
exhausted on resources at the moment.
7.
And with the Ragavan and the Roiling Vortex, he's going to be able to deal 3 damage per turn.
yeah, actually, Dan. Honestly, that might have been a blunder on Robert's part because
I am tempted to think so. Sanctifier back. That is.
does he have 2 treasures or does he have
very
1
good.
treasure?
He only has 1. Or
Yeah,
is
it's
that
2.
Oh, from the
Wasn't
first
used
time.
last turn.
I don't think he used the treasure last turn. Yeah, so he could cast that Sanctifier back, which would be a threat sticky enough to probably get through the rest of this board.
It's a symmetric exile, right? It's both
Correct,
players
yes.
exile
It is.
black and red cards from their graveyard.
Oh,
Could see it after the Murktide.
second Murktide region.
If Robert's graveyard was a bit more packed, it would be funny to see the Sanctifier on Vec come down and buff the Murktide.
Ha!
So we are going to see Sanctifier on Vec. Does have protection from red. This is relevant against all of Dan's creature threats.
Looks like a
And it's going to apply plenty of pressure next turn.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Dan finds a land.
So we're talking through.
Unfortunate. All right. Well,
Says handshake.
there goes. Quick handshake. Quick Burn versus Murktide.
Yeah.
Playing some real Magic. Robert's going to take it down. Let's see. Do we have a backup match? Do we want to play a backup match?
If you guys want to find one, yeah. Or if you guys want to go play one, you guys are good to do that too.
Fair, I'm good.
I'm lending my,
I
I'm currently
also-
lending
I
my
could
deck
just
to-
make
You
a
wanna
scene
play a-
really
you wanna
quick
play a
and
backup match?
Let's go for it.
Let's do it. All right. We will be right back.
You were the round anyways, so.
Sure.